All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA off-season video. And man, is it a start to the off-season officially. The draft has finished. We are in between that weird stage where the draft has finished and Summer League is going to start in about 2 weeks. And we already have a big trade that we can dissect and talk about for those 2 weeks until we get to Summer League. It was reported late last night during the second round of the NBA draft that the Charlotte Hornets were engaged in trade talks with other teams for LaMelo Ball, their star. And multiple teams were pursuing him. And we got a resolution this morning. It only took 24 hours, maybe 48 hours of conversations from the Hornets to other teams to get this resolution. LaMelo Ball is now a Minnesota Timberwolf. Wow. Wow. We're going to break this down for both teams. We're going to talk about LaMelo Ball. We're going to talk about what this means for Anthony Edwards, the star in Minnesota, now having a real star joining him finally, I guess. We're going to break it all down. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So, yeah, wow. I'm glad I woke up at a reasonable time today. I've been staying up kind of late, so I've been waking up kind of late. But today, I had a feeling in my gut. I was like, let me wake up a little bit early. Let me wake up. Let me do some things. And as I was doing some things, when I got up, I get this notification that I get the Al Horford notification first. I get the Golden State Warriors have extended Al Horford to a new 2-year deal. And then after that, we get the LaMelo bomb. We get the news that from ESPN Shams Charania that the Charlotte Hornets are trading star guard LaMelo Ball and Josh Green, shout out Josh Green, to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the package for Naz Reid, a 2033 unprotected first-round pick, 3 first-round pick swaps in 2028, 2029, 2030. So not next year, but every year after next year, the Minnesota Timberwolves have given up their draft pick essentially to the Charlotte Hornets for the next 3 years. 3 second-round picks, including 2029, 2032, 2033. So the Minnesota Timberwolves had to give up a lot to bring in LaMelo Ball, and the Charlotte Hornets get a haul of picks. This is mind-boggling from a not Minnesota Timberwolves perspective, from a Charlotte Hornets perspective, where you hear this stuff all the time where like teams are engaged in talks, but for some reason when this came out last night and essentially 11 hours ago that the Charlotte Hornets were shopping around LaMelo, or at least listening to offers, it felt real this time. It felt really real that LaMelo might be gone. And it felt ridiculous enough that it was real, you know? It's somewhere in the spectrum between, like, obviously Luka is the bar for like craziest trades that happen like overnight. It's somewhere closer to that than a normal trade for me, at least. Now, we will talk about Minnesota because I love this for Minnesota, obviously. Minnesota has made a lot of moves. They made the move to get rid of Julius Randle, trade him to Brooklyn, not getting any players back, and the Timberwolves have essentially facilitated a trade where they gave up Julius Randle to the Nets. The Nets gave up Nicholas Claxton to the Bulls, and the Minnesota Timberwolves got no salary back. They got nothing. So they cleared up some cap space. LaMelo Ball is obviously on I believe, a pretty big rookie extension here. If we go look at this, his extension, let me pull it up. I have the Charlotte Hornets. There we go. Is he still? Yeah, he's on. Yeah, so he's making $40 million next year, 43, and then 46, and then he's a free agent. He's only 25 years old. They had to free up that space, and even at the time the Minnesota Timberwolves got rid of Julius Randle. I was like, there's another move coming. I don't know what it is. There was those Kyrie things floating around um, after they got bounced from the postseason. There was the Kevin Durant things floating around. There was the Kawhi Leonard thing floating around. There was even the Giannis thing floating around. So it always felt like the Wolves were gearing up to do something. And from the way I've heard it, at least from the last couple hours, is um, the Mavericks did not want to give up Kyrie. And Kyrie was the guy that if the Minnesota Timberwolves struck out on Giannis, they wanted Kyrie. They struck out on both those guys and they went to the third option essentially, which if your third option is an all-star guard, then that's pretty good in LaMelo Ball. So let's circle back for 1 second. I do want to look at continue to look at the Charlotte Hornets because I don't understand this. I understand it in the funny haha thing of like, of course the Charlotte Hornets are dumb enough to do this, trade their franchise player, and not have any franchise player on standby essentially. Um, it's funny and it's realistic in that sense of the Charlotte Hornets' incompetence over the many years that they've been in existence, whether they were the Charlotte Bobcats or the Charlotte Hornets. Um, this doesn't. What does this do? You get Nas Reed, who I really like and has been sort of been playing out of position his whole NBA career. He's more of a small forward, power forward type of guy. Hopefully, he'll get to play that. But now without LaMelo Ball, a guy who facilitates the game very well, what does the Charlotte Hornets team have? They have Brandon Miller, who seemingly can't stay healthy. They have Con Knipple, who fed very well off LaMelo. Their synergy felt really good, and now Con going into his second year is going to be asked to do a lot more, and we'll see if he can do it. You have Tijan Salon, you have Trey Mann, you have Moussa Diabate, who is okay enough, but he's the type of guy that needs a LaMelo to make himself look better. You have Ryan Cockburner here, Sion James, Miles Bridges. Like, I came on here when I did my like wrap up for the year when I was talking about all 30 teams, and I was very excited um, for um, Charlotte because I thought they had a great future ahead of them. They just had a really great season. Um, the coach Charles Lee, I really am starting to like as their coach. He seemed to have put all these younger players together and made them really feel like adults and really feel like they were contributing to something, even though like the win total wasn't amazing for them. It felt like they were heading in the right direction. And I even have in my notes here for the Charlotte Hornets, put together a full season with the assets you have and hope the coaching improves even more from a great season last season. And I thought, hey, just run this back. And I get it. The when a deal comes along, right? When a team is offering this many draft picks, right? Like what did we talk about? Like was that like oh man, so many draft picks. You kind of have to do it, but like maybe this similar deal could have been here at the trade deadline next year. And maybe it isn't. Maybe LaMelo's hurt and you can't trade him, so the deal's dead essentially. But for once, LaMelo ends the season relatively healthy, and you think maybe this is a depreciating asset. Maybe we sell high, as the Charlotte Hornets, and we sort of regroup. We wait till 28, 29, those years, 2028, 2029, when, we get those draft picks in, and, Brandon Miller's 26, Con Knipple's 23, Moussa Diabate's 20, 27. Like these guys are starting to head into their prime or going to be in their prime. Maybe holding out hope that those three guys plus Miles Bridges is going to be like 30 something. So, he's not the future, and he's on the last year of his deal next year. But you're hoping maybe perhaps that um, you can sort of do a what do we call it? Like a tweak of the roster and be bad for a couple years. But the thing is that being bad now in the NBA doesn't get you a top pick. But this is a swap, so maybe the swap is better. I don't know because I'll be completely honest. Let's just look at it this way, right? Looking at the draft odds, the 3-2-1 or the 1-2-3 lottery odds that we have now, where the Charlotte Hornets were at 9 would get them like a top 3 pick, a top 5 pick. So it's very mind boggling for the Charlotte Hornets in that sense where I can understand maybe trading LaMelo if you had another like really great player on the rise or like already in the fold. I like Khan, but is Khan anywhere near LaMelo? Like as far as like, well, I guess you could say the same thing about LaMelo. He hasn't really pushed the team to success. They've just been sort of mediocre the whole time he's been there. So uh, I don't know. It's a weird place to be because it's like LaMelo is your guy. Like for those who don't remember, when LaMelo got drafted, he was supposed to get drafted by the Warriors, and then the Warriors sort of like pulled out the rug from beneath him and drafted James Wiseman instead. Right? That's that draft, right? Right? Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I'm not making that. They did the James Wiseman thing. Yeah, um, and LaMelo ended up in Charlotte, and it was always the thought that LaMelo was never going to end his career in Charlotte. To be quite honest, he's a big market guy. He's a big lights, big city, big brand sort of guy. He has his clothing brand. I think it's La France or whatever. He just had his first kid as well. That was a couple, maybe a month ago, months ago. Um, so we always felt like LaMelo was never going to be in Charlotte. And for once at least, like I had thought they were heading in a positive direction. And now for them to completely take like the left turn instead of keeping down the right side of the road and going down a different path is quite strange. I also like Brandon Miller for the Charlotte Hornets, but his shoulder was messed up this past season and he's had shoulder surgery. So he's not going to have a full healthy offseason to get better. So he's not necessarily going to be your franchise cornerstone. And like Miles Bridges isn't the type of guy you build a team around, especially at his age and his record. He's not the most marketable person. You look at Musa Diabate again, another player who feeds off. He needs a guard to get him involved, and right now this team doesn't have a guard, and it will remain to be seen what else they do. I do want to look at um, their their draft picks this year because the draft is complete, and I want to see who in totality they have. See, they took Heinz Steinbach, a power forward who probably could have really benefited from um, LaMelo Ball. You took Christian Anderson, uh, the 6'2" guard at Texas Tech, at number 18. And in round two, did they have any round two picks? They didn't. So yeah, their draft situation. I mean, this draft in particular, the one that just happened, wasn't fantastic. And then maybe they saw the writing on the wall, and they're like, well, Lamelo's injured a lot. Um, Maybe we sell high, get some great assets out of him, and we bring in Nas Reed. And I hope Nas Reed can really play. Nas Reed seems like the type of guy to go from one situation where he's just a role player to go to another situation, not being an all-star kind of guy, but being an all just really good type of player. Especially if he's allowed to play his more natural positions and not have to play center. But it is pretty crowded in um, Charlotte with their forwards. I mean, Brandon Miller's a small forward. Grant Williams doesn't play. Con Knipple's a small forward. I guess they're going to bump down Miller or Con to a shooting guard. Um, yeah, the positive is if you're a Nas Reed fan, you get to watch Nas Reed basketball in Charlotte now. So yeah, that's it. Do you have any other thoughts about Charlotte? It's just boggling that you would do this. It just really is because there was no smoke for this. Like there, I feel like not I this is always going to be said by people like me, but I feel like you could have cased the league a little bit more. But then again, maybe LaMelo's value wasn't that high because the biggest mark on LaMelo's career is that he's not a winning player. He's not a serious guy. If you follow any ounce of LaMelo Ball, he is the least serious guy you'll ever meet. He's what, 25? He acts like he's 19 still, 20, you know? Um, I, I'm not trying to discredit LaMelo because I think there is a lot of untapped potential and mindset in him. And we'll use that as a segue to go to the team that he's going to in the Minnesota Timberwolves, who, just as a thought, just want to put that out there because this has been rumored. The Minnesota Timberwolves might move to the Eastern Conference in a couple years, so LaMelo might have to face his old team a couple more times than he probably like to. But yeah, um, other big hits that I forgot to mention for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, we talked about the Julius Randle trade where they shedded some money. They also re-signed Ayo Dosunmu to a long-term deal up until about 2029, 2030, and then the following year, 30, 31, he has a player option. So I just want to put this in perspective as well, where this time last year, the Minnesota Timberwolves had a starting point guard and a backup of Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham. That was like your point guard one, point guard two. And now they've transformed that into starting point guard LaMelo Ball and backup point guard Ayo Dosunmu. Just that off the names alone is amazing. So shout out everybody in the Minnesota Timberwolves front office. Um, the other thing, like I said, the Minnesota Timberwolves were big game hunting this offseason apparently. And it felt like they weren't going to get close to what they wanted. Like we talked about, even KD dating back to last offseason when KD was still on the Suns, to more recently where there were thoughts of Giannis perhaps, and they made a very aggressive offer for Giannis at the trade deadline. The Bucks didn't take it. Then they pivoted to like maybe Kawhi, maybe could circle back to KD because KD is still in trade talks because he always is. And then the one that felt the most real, at least to me, was the Kyrie one, because the Mavs felt like they're in a rebuild. They don't know if they want Kyrie. It's a new front office. Apparently, they're going to keep Kyrie, or the Minnesota Timberwolves offer wasn't great enough to help them get Kyrie. Um, and they end up with maybe not their first option, but like their third or fourth option in LaMelo Ball. And just reading this roster, right? Like we talked about LaMelo, Io, and Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo probably not going to play majority of the season. Just that alone sounds great. They have to fill out the rest of this roster because well, you have Rudy Gobert too. I forgot to mention him. Oops, Rudy Gobert, very forgettable. So you have a core reshuffling of guys, um, a team of very very good defenders. I mean, LaMelo, for what he is, not a great defender. He's a great, um, I almost said pass rusher. Like we're talking about football. He jumps out at passes with his long arms. He has some really, if he's engaged defensively, he can have some really good blocks. I don't know if he's a point of attack defender. I don't know if that's what you want from him or what you need from him, but he could do it. I think he has the size to do it. The whole thing about LaMelo is just the mindset. Um, Ant and LaMelo, just as teammates, gonna be great. I think they'd vibe off each other very well. They're literally the same age. They're both 25. Um, I want to say they both live pretty similar lifestyles, but they both are um, typical 25-year-olds, I guess you could say. And I think that bodes well. It's the stuff for um, was it Chris Finch that he's gonna have to figure out, where Chris Finch hasn't had a point guard like LaMelo Ball on his roster, at least to my knowledge. I mean, let me see. When did Finch start coaching here? 2021. Oh yeah, so he hasn't had a real. Who they have in 2021? They had They had Jared Culver. Yeah, okay. Josh Okogie, Ricky Rubio. Okay, so we coached Ricky Rubio. Okay, Chris Finch coached Ricky Rubio. Maybe dust off some old Ricky Rubio plays for LaMelo and send him on his way. But as we talk about LaMelo here, I just want to tell you the type of guy the Minnesota Timberwolves are getting. One-time All-Star. He was the Rookie of the Year. Um, they just call him Mello, LaMelo. Um, his numbers over for his career. Let's not do the whole thing. Let's just do his career numbers here. 20 points per game, um, 1.5 steals, 5 rebounds, a 84% free throw shooter, a 36% 3 point shooter, and that's on what is that on? That's on that was almost 10. He's gotten up to 10 attempts a game from three for his career, almost 10 for the last like 4 years. It's been 10 attempted threes. So that's a pretty good percentage. 47% from the mid range and such. And then his total field goal is 41%. And he's played a total of 303 games in his career. Was relatively healthy last year. Played his second most games of his career, 72 games. The most games he's ever played is 75. So if you can get somewhere in that ballpark for LaMelo and he continues these same numbers, and we are going to talk about the bad number, which is he's a 3.2 um, turnovers a game guy. That's not great, but the ball not being in his hand might be a positive because Ant's going to need the ball. And I feel like Ant and LaMelo are going to make each other's lives easier. Now, does this make this Minnesota Timberwolves team better in the hierarchy of the NBA? Let's go to the Western Conference because the Western Conference is pretty stacked, um, as it always is. Standings, here we go. So we're in the West. Keep in mind, Minnesota Timberwolves have been in the Western Conference Finals 3 out of the last 4 years, or now has it is it 2 out of the last 4 years, or 3 out of the last 5 years? Yeah, it might be 3 out of the last 5 years now since they got bounced this year. But regardless, they've been to a lot of Western Conference Finals with different variations of this group, um, and they ended the regular season 49-33, behind Houston, behind Los Angeles, behind Denver, behind San Antonio, behind Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City TBDs made a couple draft moves. Apparently, they're going to trade their other guy. I forget his name, but they're gonna try to shed some salary and maybe try to keep um, Hartenstein or Luzang, or maybe perhaps both. We'll see. San Antonio TBD. They're in some trade talks right now. I think that's circling them. Maybe return of Kawhi. Maybe just maybe. Denver. I don't know what Denver's gonna do, but I say all these teams I mentioned, will go down to Los Angeles and then Houston. Does this make the Minnesota Timberwolves higher on the food chain? Um, I think it does. I'm really gonna have to see the rest of the roster because right now it is really thin. After the guys I named, it gets like you get down to like Terrence Shannon Jr., Jonah Bollinger, Behringer, but the core, right? Ant, LaMelo, Io, Jaden, right? And then an aging Rudy Gobert, right? Is that a top three team in the West? I think it is. I think it is. The big if is LaMelo needs to stay healthy. History says this next season is not going to be a healthy one because the last time he played 70 plus games, he only played 36 and then 22 the year after, and then the year after that. So history says he's not going to play a lot. The Minnesota Timberwolves need a good regular season. They need a good home court advantage. They need it. I am not. I am not particularly hopeful they could be a top two team, but top three, top four, you could sell me on that. You could sell me on a top three, top four finish next year. Um, they're bringing in new jerseys. They have a new ownership group finally, like fully. I think this is a turning point for this franchise. Not that they've been bad, and not that they need a turning point, but like I'm always a big proponent. And I've said it on this channel. I haven't said it recently, but I've said it on this channel before. I like teams whether the trade works out or it doesn't that just goes for I would rather see Sham Sharania tweet out that you just traded for this player than 10 years from now your ex player on X podcast telling us, well, this trade almost happened. I hate hearing that because a lot of those trades are sometimes really good. Um, I would rather you just go for it. Just try. Because when you're in, especially in the West, you just got to try. You just got to do something. You can't just sit around and sit on your hands and be like, oh, we're just going to keep the same team, You turn into like the Portland Trailblazers where you just sit on your hands, You turn into like, not necessarily in this particular scenario, but like the Lakers where it's just like, people want to come here, right? And then nobody comes. And then it comes like to the end of the off season and you have to just fill out the roster with a bunch of nobodies, right? Um, yeah, you don't want to turn to those teams. Does this in totality shake up the hierarchy of the West? Um, uh, no, because Minnesota was a playoff team last year. I mean, they can only go upwards, I guess. In the worst case scenario, they go down and they're in the play-in, which is what you don't want. They narrowly avoid the play-in to Portland, who was 42 wins to the Wolves 49. So the Wolves were very close to the play-in. Um, if this team is a play-in team, um, that's kind of disastrous. Um, Otherwise, even if they're right where they are, where they were the sixth seed this year, I think that's sort of disappointing as well. Because like when you have a core two, right? I'm assuming that the Lakers don't have LeBron, and the Lakers just re-signed Austin Reeves to a new deal. So it's Austin Reeves and Luca. Is Ant and LaMelo better than Austin Reeves and Luca? I I think so. So that would put them above the Lakers, who are above them right now. So, and is this Minnesota Timberwolves team currently constructed better than just the whole of the Houston Rockets as constructed? I think so too. So that would put them at like a top four team, essentially, which I think is a success. That would mean you're a 50 plus win team. That would mean LaMelo was relatively healthy. That means the lingering injuries that he had this postseason don't come back, and you hope Jaden McDaniels is improved a bit more offensively, even more. Who I raved about during this season. I thought Jaden McDaniels is very good, and LaMelo is going to get him wide open shots, and LaMelo is going to do so much, um, so many things that the Timberwolves haven't had before. Um, it's going to alleviate Ant's need to bring up the ball every play. It's going to alleviate. Um, I want to say stupid plays because Julius Randle made a lot of stupid plays and LaMelo makes some stupid plays. But I think throughout a course of, let's say he plays like 65, 70 games, right? LaMelo. He can learn how to play a winning version of basketball. Now, I'll put it this way, right? LaMelo's never made the playoffs, right? He's never made the playoffs. Um, right? I have to double check that. Let's see. I don't think there are postseason stats for LaMelo. Don't think there are. LaMelo's gonna have to learn. The West is not the East. The East is tough, man. It is very tough. Any given night, as the point guard, I'm not saying he's gonna defend these guys, but he's gonna have to go like mano a mano, like shot for shot with some of these guys. He's gonna have to go at Shea from Oklahoma. He's gonna have to go at Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper in San Antonio. He's going to have to go at Jamal Murray. He's going to have to go at Luca. He's going to have to go at the Rockets. Don't really have anybody at point, but next year, I mean, Portland. If Dame is any version of Dame, LaMelo's going to have to go at Dame. Phoenix, he's going to have to go at Devin Booker or Jalen Green. And Golden State, he's going to have to go at Steph Curry. In Dallas, he's gonna have to go at Kyrie. If Ja remains in the West, he's gonna have to go at Ja. Um, he's gonna, I mean, he's gonna have to go up in Utah. He's gonna have to go up against Keontae George and Darren Peterson. You know, so every night is gonna be a challenge for Lamelo, and I hope he's appropriately prepared for that because going from the West to the East, I mean, he's got some guys. I mean, you got to play Kate. You have to play Kate Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, James Harden in Cleveland. Um, I guess now Nikhil Alexander Walker in Atlanta. You know, Tyrese Maxey in Philly. Um, and Trey Young in Washington, but he doesn't have to do that anymore. Or at least he doesn't have to play Trey Young in on his old team. He's in Washington now. Tyrese Halliburton. So those are few names in the East, but then the West it gets really spooky. Um, we're at 30 minutes here. Do you have anything else to say? Um, I mean, you have this duo locked up. Their contracts expire at the same time, and Ant's making 55 million at the end of it, and Lamelo's making 46. 46 million. Oh, this sounds crazy, but 46 million for Lamelo is a steal, especially going from a Julius Randle contract that was 33 to 35 million, and then you have Jaden McDaniels only on 26 to 29 million. This Nas Reed 23 to 26 million. Um, this is some good value. You essentially, let's say in totality, right, traded Julius Randle and Nas Reed for LaMelo Ball. You got off two huge contracts in return for a somewhat decent contract for a guy of his, um, we'll say pedigree, but pedigree. Um, and him and LaMelo, Ant and LaMelo, I think have the potential to be a really good backcourt for the next at least 5 years. Let's put it that way. We'll TBD on a longer term goal, but for the next 5 years at least, heading into this back half of this decade, is this the best backcourt in the West? Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, hell yeah, they are the best backcourt in the West. So, congrats to Minnesota for getting their guy. Let me. I'm just gonna scroll through Twitter real quick and see what the reactions are here. Obviously, you have the trade thing at the top. They're talking about Lamelo's driving. um, oh yeah, just the fact that Ant has gone from Julius Randle, who I didn't particularly like, and I sat here actually and I said to you guys last year and this year, the Minnesota Timberwolves need to do something. They need to get rid of Julius Randle. They need to bring in another guy, and they did. And I think that's absolutely amazing for them. Um, oh, so Yahoo Sports has the starting lineup for the Minnesota Timberwolves being LaMelo Ball at point, Ayo Dosunmu shooting guard, Anthony Edwards small forward. I don't know if I want Ant doing that. Jaden McDaniels power forward and Rudy Gobert at center. I don't hate that. It's not bad. That's getting all your good players in the starting five. I like Ayo off the bench a little bit. Maybe we could just tinker with that a little bit. But if Ayo can keep shooting like he was, I think that's it's a really deadly lineup. Um, Other question: can they share the ball? Uh, I think so. I think Lamelo got a little taste of it playing with Khan last year. Obviously, Ant knows how to share the ball. He's played with a bunch of guys. He played with Cat, played with um, Julius Randle, played with Mike Conley. He knows how to share the ball. LaMelo's the one I'm kind of worried about, but I think he got a little taste of it last year in Charlotte. And then this is from ESPN's Sham Sharani as well. LaMelo Ball is very excited to go play with Anthony Edwards and try to win a championship. He knows the task at hand. I hope he does, man. I really hope he does. This is a chance. We're going to watch this in real time. An immature young player like LaMelo being transported to a winning environment. That's what Minnesota is. For whatever you think about them, they're a winning environment over the last couple of years. They've been very productive in their win total, getting deep in the playoffs. They just need to get to the finals. Literally, all it takes is to break through once, and they're both 25. If they can do it once, that'd be really good. It's gonna be interesting to see in real time how Lamelo matures and how he develops. Obviously, like I mentioned, he is a father. Fatherhood changes players in particular. I've seen it time and time again where a player becomes a father and they become a bit more mature and they realize, it's not just about me. It's about, the family. It's about providing. It's about all this stuff. All this stuff you don't want to hear me talk about, but that is very true in sports where somebody has a kid and they're like, well, I gotta grow up now. I'm 20 something years old. I'm in my mid 20s. I'm at the peak of my powers in my career. I'm having a really great life. Let's make it even better by winning a championship. you know? Um, yeah, just a crazy start to the off season for sure. Um, I think this happens every year whenever we have a really good start to the off season. Can't basketball just start up again right now? right? Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, and this is another thing. We the I won't say the rumor started, but like the breadcrumbs trickle out where it's like if the Timberwolves don't do anything, is Anthony Edwards going to stay? Or is he the next guy who's going to be traded? And I think I even saw a post like a couple weeks ago where it was like next play. Oh no, it was a couple days ago when Giannis got traded. It was like which next star player is going to be disgruntled, and the top vote was Anthony Edwards, and I was like, hell no, that's not going to happen. This is on some random post, but like the other names were like Devin Booker, LaMelo, I think, or somebody else, and it was like I thought it was gonna be Booker. At this rate, it is gonna be Booker because Ant just got himself a star, and they have formed the best backcourt in the West now. Um, anyway, that's it. That's the video. Um, I think both teams are gonna be happy in the long term. Charlotte fans, I think that you probably get tired of hearing this, but it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. Trust. The 20 you should be very happy you don't have a draft pick next year in 2027 because that draft class sucks. You have them for the next 3 years after 27, so you have that. And Minnesota Timberwolves, you have LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards, two 25-year-olds, possibly destined for greatness. That is remain to be seen. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Check out the video on the left. It should be the Giannis trade. You can check that out. Hear me talk about another trade, and you can check out the playlist on the right. Just some basketball hot topics from the WNBA, NBA, just around basketball and all that stuff. If you click my little icon right in the middle of the screen, a little subscribe will pop up, and you can subscribe with ease. Also, this is an ESPN graphic in front of you. I did not make this. Thank you, ESPN, for making this so I could use it. Yeah, and that's it. Like and comment as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.